8:20, Graham live at breakfast now. E-cigarettes could be banned indoor in Wales. That's if the health minister gets his way. Basically, a ban, you can't smoke a normal cigarette in a restaurant or a pub or whatever. And in Wales, the plan is that ban to include e-cigarettes as well. Today, a public health bill is being proposed in the Welsh Parliament, saying that it should only have, you should only, I was going to say light up, but you switch it on or whatever, in a designated smoking area. These people in Lancashire have mixed views on whether they should be allowed or not.
I would want more information about the effects, so at the moment I would err on caution.
I think me myself being a non-smoker, when the ban come in, I thought it were a good thing, but I think it's people's rights and things like that, and I don't think they're a real violation, the e-cigarettes. I think it's a bit to the extreme and being a bit pedantic.
Well, as a smoker like 10 years ago, I know how hard it is to stop smoking, and if it is an aid to stop smoking without somebody climbing up the wall, yeah, I think they're fine.
I've never smoked in my life, but my daughter does smoking. She's tried different times to give up the regular ones and failed. Now with these e-cigarettes, she seems to be getting a blend, you know.
All for it. I don't smoke myself. I know for a fact my child knows friends at school that have them.
Currently surrounded by lots of products from Totally Wicked. Their managing director is Fraser Cooper in the studio, and he joins me this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Why do you think we're doing this in Wales, or want to do this in Wales?
Oh, I think that's a really important question. I don't really understand as to why they would wish to ban them when there's no obvious risk they're trying to mitigate, and other governments, the English and the Scottish governments, have considered this and decided not to. It seems to be contrary to the evidence and seems to be addressing a risk that doesn't exist.
So you've brought a few of these devices into the studio.
Yeah.
One, they look like big pens, don't they?
Well,
Big kind of pen.
I think the first thing to observe is they look nothing like conventional cigarettes, so there's no confusion.
No.
And it's a very wide range. They offer different things for different users' needs, and it shows how the sector has evolved in the past 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, and they are very popular now, aren't they?
Indeed, yeah.
Yeah. And is there a health risk there? What testing do you do on these things?
Well, all our fluids have been independently tested by a very eminent European academic who's actually been part of the research cohort who has been considering this particular question, i.e. are they dangerous to bystanders? And I think if we go back to 2010, some of the responses you had would have been viable, which is in 2010 there was not enough information for a government to decide, but in 2015 there's a welter of evidence, international evidence by eminent people that have concluded vaping is not dangerous to bystanders.
Right. And vaping is basically smoking on
yes.
these things. And are you finding that people are giving up the normal fags and turning to these?
Well, in droves, I think not just our own evidence through our user base, but also much more authoritative evidence from Ash, for example. The smoking rates are reducing at a faster rate than they have been for a very long time. And as smoking reduces, vaping increases. There's a direct correlation.
And when people talk about how much they spend on fags, how much would it cost me to start?
Well, a starter kit would be $24.99. A bottle of fluid would be between £4 and £5, and you'd probably save 60 to 80% of your weekly costs. And you can get all different kinds of flavours. Many different flavours, many different strengths, many different devices. An absolute panoply of opportunity for smokers to try something which is actually much more able to be tuned to their various needs. So, is it safe? Yes. Well, personally, from my own personal perspective, I would not be selling these if I thought they were unsafe. Categorically, I'm an ex-smoker myself. I think we run the business ethically, as many e-cigarette companies are. All our products are tested. We have never found any evidence to suggest that what we are selling is in any consideration bringing adverse effect to our customers. Quite the contrary, actually. I'm very proud of our business. I'm very proud for what it's doing for our customers. We should give them the chance to have something that I didn't have when I was a smoker 13 years ago. OK, well, let's speak now to Mark Temple, who's from the British Medical Association in Wales. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning.
Why do you want the ban in Wales?
Well, I think the answer is that we have very successfully reduced cigarette smoking, and the clue is in the title here. Either these are electronic nicotine delivery system, ENDS for short, or they are cigarettes. And if they are cigarettes, they should be treated as cigarettes, end of. And
but they're not cigarettes.
Well, hang on. They sell them as e-cigarettes, so clearly they are cigarettes. So, I mean, you've got a problem here, which is either they're electronic delivery systems, in which case they need to be regulated as a medicine. Now, I mean, if they're a nicotine replacement system, then it's the nicotine that's the dangerous element. You know, it's banned from use in gardens because it's so dangerous as a pesticide. And yet, somehow, if you give it to children, and a lot of these are aimed at children, we know that although it's incidental, but we know that children are using them much more frequently, and it is a gateway to children starting smoking. That's what the evidence says. And we also know that most electronic delivery system users are also smokers, and in fact they use the ends when they're not able to smoke. So it's a bit of a myth that it actually helps people to give up.
Wow.
It does in certain circumstances, but we also know that these are not giving people regular supplies of nicotine.
Right.
So there's a difficulty here, which is they are not designed to give a medical dose.
It's a remarkable summary there, actually. It's like going back 12 years before these were ever invented. The evidence that has been apparently purported to exist by the BMA representative, I've never been aware of. And if it is, then it is outshone by 99% of the last 3 or 4 years of evidence. That these are aimed at children is another fallacy. That these do not work and they don't support people in making a decision to quit smoking. I think, once again, the evidence is entirely contrary to that. And the National Institute of Clinical Excellence has concluded that long-term use of nicotine is not dangerous. So a medical expert who is concluding that nicotine is dangerous is, once again, misrepresenting.
Mark, what do you make of the large...
What I said was nicotine is banned as an insecticide because of its dangers in the garden. That's just a statement of law.
Okay, well, yeah, okay.
So,
but what do you make? What do you make?
Illegal pesticide.
Okay, but I'm sure people aren't vaping that.
No. The point is the liquid in containers.
Right.
If it's spilt on a child's skin can kill a child.
Well, you can say that about anything now. But
you can't. If I spill water on a child, it doesn't.
And it won't kill it. Once again, an absolute fabrication, misrepresentation is a shameful one. That spilling e-liquid on a child will kill it. It is disgraceful that a gentleman who purports to be a medical expert.
There have been admissions to hospital with nicotine poisoning in the US from these devices.
Right. Excuse me, sir. You've just said that spilling e-liquid on a child will kill it.
Can I ask a question here?
Shocking.
Mark,
those are just the facts.
Britain's largest cancer charity, are wondering why you're doing this. Cancer Research UK say there is no scientific basis for the ban at all, and it's warning it could undermine attempts to help give people use these to actually give up the normal fags. So why are Cancer Research UK saying what you're planning to do is wrong?
Well, I mean, I happen to, we're allowed to disagree on things. It doesn't mean that our aims aren't the same. I think the point is that there are, as one of the ladies you spoke to in the Vox Pop, there are still doubts about these devices. They've only been around for 12 years. When tobacco was introduced in 1600, I seem to remember the then King of England tried to ban it, but was overruled in public places for 400 years. So, I mean, we have a long history of waiting for evidence of harm before we do it.
What we do know, though, we need to be clear. What we do know is that smoking is one of the biggest plagues to public health that we have known this century and previous centuries. We do know that it is never better to smoke than it is to vape. Categorically, the evidence abounds. We do know that this
is undoubtedly true.
We do know we are talking
and to stop vaping.
We are talking about an option for those people who are very troubled in giving up smoking. We want to allow people to have the choice. And we should be all trying to make positive... Bear with me, please.
Mark, let him speak, please. Let him speak.
We should be trying to make positive discrimination that allows for people to have the right information to make a decision. We should be trying to discriminate positively to allow for those people who wish to have a less risk solution to their nicotine needs to be placed in front of them so they can make a decision that allows them to have the choices available to them. We do not want to misrepresent in the way that is routinely misrepresented that we've heard again today with rumours, non-supported academic fact that allows for people to continue the belief that these things are dangerous. It is a great shame that the reduction in smoking has somewhat stalled in the past 12 months, directly correlates to the fact that people are now in greater proportions believing e-cigarettes are more dangerous than smoking. It is a disgrace that people who want to support healthcare to support those situations.
Right, we'll have to leave it there because unfortunately I go off air at 9.
I think that's really unfair, and it's a complete misrepresentation of what I said by a man who's making money out of selling a dangerous substance.
Well, there we go. And the final point is, of course, it must be me misrepresenting because apparently I'm in a commercial business selling products, and therefore I must be misrepresenting the person who sits in a public body must be therefore supporting.
We'll have to leave it there. We'll have to leave it there, Mark. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. That's Mark Temple from the BMA in Wales. There we are. Thank you very much for joining us this morning as well. From Totally Wicked, Fraser Cropper, their managing director.